Thank you, Acting Speaker, and I too rise to speak on the motion that's been put forward by the Leader of the House that condemns the Shadow Minister for Equality for allowing his colleagues to sponsor a parliamentary petition attacking, undermining the LGBTQI plus people and communities. And in doing so, it does genuinely sadden me greatly that in this day and age, in 2025, I have to rise in this parliament to speak out against such hateful, vilifying, discriminatory petition against our LGBTQI plus community that's been tabled and moved by Liberal Party members in this parliament. Acting Speaker, as the local state MP for Pascoe Vale, Coburg and Brunswick West, I'll always remain committed to doing everything I can to help build a more welcoming, vibrant, diverse and inclusive community, a community that continues to welcome and embrace people of all backgrounds, regardless of ability, disability, faith, religion, nationality, culture, skin colour, gender or sexual orientation. As one community that's proudly diverse, as the state MP, I'll continue doing all I can to ensure Merri-bek remains a welcoming and inclusive community. And as I said in my first speech, pursuing that real action on social justice outcomes will always continue to remain a key priority. And in this respect, it's certainly members and families of our LGBTQIA plus communities, from lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, queer and asexual communities that all belong, have a place and deserve our support and protection from hate, discrimination, vilification across our state, across our city and across my community of Merri-bek. And no matter the postcode, all Victorian LGBTQIA plus community members deserve our respect and support. Because, Acting Speaker, on this side of the House, we're proud to celebrate and embrace diversity, and where human rights for all humans are always defended, including those for the LGBTQI plus community. It's just absolutely ironic that we always hear from the Liberal Party, the party of supposed individual freedom, that's supposed to be there to champion individual choice and individual opportunity, that when it comes to LGBTQI plus communities, nothing could be further from the truth when it comes to their policy position. Whenever there's a minority group to persecute, it's the Liberal Party at the other end, always chasing the lowest common denominator to spread fear, hate and division, which is absolutely shameful in 2025. And, Acting Speaker, Victoria, of course, has a long history of progressive social justice policy reform that I just want to reflect on in the context of this motion more broadly. We've led the nation, we've given voice to the voiceless, we've ensured no one's left behind, we've always sought to foster social cohesion and always sought to support our most vulnerable community member. Acting Speaker, it was Victoria that we fostered the creation of the 8-hour working day from April 1856 with the Melbourne stonemasons downing their tools. We were one of the first jurisdictions in the world to introduce the secret, silent, democratic ballot from 1856. In 1872, Victoria became the first state in the world to pass the Dedicated Education Act of 1872 to provide free and compulsory education for all children aged 6 to 15 years of age. One of the earliest jurisdictions in the world, Victoria, was to grant women the right to vote from 1908. We restricted the consumption of tobacco and ultimately banned tobacco advertising. We legalised medicinal cannabis. We commenced the historic Royal Commission into Family Violence, which led to a record historic 220 plus recommendations and over $4 billion of investment to tackle family violence issues. We commenced the Royal Commission into Mental Health, 60 recommendations plus and almost $4 billion invested to address mental health and wellbeing issues. We commenced the Royal Commission into Historic Sexual Abuse, the Betrayal of Trust report, the Women's Health and Pain Inquiry. We passed and continue to pursue anti-vilification reforms to protect people on the basis of disability, race, religion, sex and sexual orientation. We banned the Nazi salute and Nazi symbols. And across many policy fronts, it's always been Victoria at that forefront that has led our nation's progressive patriotism. And of course, it's also our LGBTQIA plus communities that Victoria has continued to lead the way for too. In 1980, homosexuality was decriminalised in Victoria, where previously men could be sentenced for up to 15 years in prison for having consensual sex with other men. And that was, I've got to acknowledge, that was a Hamer Liberal government decision, as the member for Ashwood touched on earlier, way back when there were small L central moderate Liberals running a Liberal government in this state. We have very much gone to the far right in that case now, in this opposition here. No moderate Liberals seen anywhere here. No moderate Liberals seen anywhere here. No one speaking on this motion from the moderate Liberal faction at all. No one. Cowards they are. The cowards they are. And I quote, these laws did not just punish homosexual acts, they punished homosexual thought. They had no place in a liberal democracy. They have no place anywhere, the Premier said at the time. And in December 2014, we introduced the first ever equality portfolio. Its purpose to champion the rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans and gender diverse intersex Victorians. In 2001, same-sex couples got the same rights to equal heterosexual de facto couples. In 2005, the gay panic defence was abolished. In 2008, assisted reproductive technology became legal for female same-sex partners and same-sex partners to register the relationship as a domestic relationship, like heterosexual couples. In 2014, Victoria Police apologised for the infamous Tasty nightclub raid, and Victoria Police started their Equality is Not the Same process to begin rebuilding that trust. In 2015, the state of Victoria removed HIV transmission law. Previously, intentional HIV transmission had penalties of up to 25 years in jail compared to 20 years for manslaughter. Section 19A of the Crimes Act was removed, so intentional infection of HIV became part of existing criminal offences such as causing serious injury. In July 2015, Victoria established the first Gender and Sexuality Commissioner. In September 2015, we removed the old homosexual criminal convictions, where a personal representative of a deceased person could apply and can apply to remove old convictions for homosexual sexual activity that is no longer a criminal offence. This is known as expungement. In May 2016, we provided the state apology, a historic state apology for the criminalisation of homosexuality, where again Premier Daniel Andrews acknowledged the same shameful historic laws that criminalised homosexuality in Victoria before they were decriminalised in 1980 by the Hamer government. In June 2016, Victorians gathered in solidarity following the horrific shooting in Orlando, where 2,500 Victorians gathered at Fed Square to show solidarity following that tragic shooting at Pulse nightclub in Orlando, where 49 people were killed for being part and members of the LGBTQI community. That's where hate speech can lead, Acting Speaker, and that's where these types of petitions, these divisive petitions can lead. They foster that hate in the dark corners of our community that we as leaders should be seeking to totally repel. In September 2016, we reformed the adoption legislation to allow all couples to adopt. Changes to the Adoption Amendment Act in 2015 in Victoria allowed couples to adopt regardless of their sex or gender identity. In March 2017, we announced the location of Australia's first purpose-built Pride Centre on Fitzroy Street in St Kilda, which was then opened in July 21. We launched Victoria's first LGBTQI+ strategy, Pride in Our Future, subsequently, and we launched the Rainbow Ready Roadmap in May 2022. And of course, at a federal level, we had the historic amendments to the Marriage Act passed in December 9th, 2017, providing for same rights for same-sex couples to marry like heterosexual couples. And again, I acknowledge that was a Turnbull Liberal government, and again, we can debate the process to which we led to that outcome, but it was moderate Liberals at the time who pursued those reforms in partnership with the advocacy of the Labor opposition at the time. And Acting Speaker, we've pursued and supported these reforms because they're all about building a fairer, more resilient and inclusive community for LGBTQI+ communities. They're reforms that have totally been ignored and disregarded by this shameful Liberal petition that's been tabled in this building. But it's also a petition that totally disregards and compounds the pre-existing health and wellbeing issues being experienced by LGBTQI+ people who do experience significant health and wellbeing disparities compared to the wider community. 1 in 3 LGBTI people rate their health as poor or fair. 3 in 4 have experienced a mental health condition. Almost 3 in 5 have experienced high or very high psychological distress. 2 in 3 have experienced family violence, and 3 in 5 have suffered intimate partner violence. 2 in 5 have reported they've considered attempting suicide in the last 12 months, and they're 4 times more likely, Acting Speaker, to inflict self-harm or contemplate or sadly go through with suicide. That's why I've been very proud to be part of a Victorian Labor government that's continued to pursue the reforms that matter for LGBTQI communities to support their health and wellbeing, but also at the federal level. I was very pleased to have joined with the Federal Health Minister Mark Butler, Assistant Minister for Health and Member for Cooper Jed County, Peter Khalil, Member for Wills, Josh Burns, Member for Macnamara, Member for Preston and Northcote as well, my Northern Suburbs colleagues, some months ago to help launch Australia's first nationwide action plan for LGBTQI+ communities. And Speaker, of course, we know at a federal and state level, with Labor governments in place, LGBTQI+ communities know that Labor will always have their back and champion their inclusivity.